I'm Barbara, 62. Standing in the cozy kitchen of our new home, a gentle hum of contentment fills the air. The sound of my granddaughter Lily upstairs, organizing her seashell collection to the rhythm of her favorite tunes, and my grandson Max in the living room, sprawled out with his schoolwork, occasionally calling out for my help, is a symphony of life I never thought I'd hear again. 6 months ago, my world was turned upside down. My son, Ethan, a brilliant and kind-hearted man, lost his battle with cancer. Just a week after his funeral, my daughter-in-law, Ava, a high-powered businesswoman with a cold exterior, walked into the living room where I was folding Ethan's old shirts. The room was still filled with the lingering scent of his cologne and the fading fragrance of funeral flowers. Ava, dressed in a designer suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension, looked at me with a steely gaze. "Barbara, it's time for you to go. You're being too emotional, and it's not good for the kids. Pack your things and figure out how to live on your own." I was stunned. This house had been my home for the past 5 years. Ethan and I had planned for me to stay here to help with Lily and Max after he got sick. But Ava was relentless. She said Ethan was on too many medications when he talked about me staying, and that the house now belonged to her. I had no choice. I packed my few belongings into a suitcase, leaving behind the small TV Ethan bought for me and the comfortable chair he'd given me as a house-warming gift. Writing a goodbye note to Lily, who was 8, and Max, who was 10, was the hardest thing. I didn't want to make Ava look like the villain, but I also had no idea where I'd go or how I'd see them again. In the early morning, I drove away from the only family I had left, with nowhere to go. I ended up living in my car for 2 weeks, parked behind a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of town. My daily routine became a struggle for survival. Every morning, I'd go into the diner to use the restroom, order the cheapest coffee and toast, and sit there for hours, trying to stretch the meal. People I'd known for years now looked through me as if I was invisible. One day, I decided to drive by the house to see if I could catch a glimpse of the kids. What I saw broke my heart. There was a dumpster in the driveway, filled with Ethan's things. Ava was standing there, directing the removal of his desk, the bookshelf filled with the novels we discussed, and the recliner where he'd fallen asleep with the kids on Sundays. It was like she was erasing his memory. That evening, I made the mistake of checking Ava's social media. She'd posted a photo of the redecorated living room, all white and minimalist, with a caption about starting fresh. Her friends were praising her strength, and someone even said Ethan would be proud. I closed the browser, feeling more alone than ever. But then, a call changed everything. It was Ethan's lawyer, Mr. Thompson. He said there were provisions in Ethan's will that directly concerned me, provisions Ava didn't know about. I was skeptical, but I went to his office. In his luxurious office, Mr. Thompson asked about my living situation. When I told him I was living in my car, he showed no judgment. He pulled out a thick folder and started reading from Ethan's will. To my shock, Ethan had left me $7 million to be held in trust until I could establish stable housing and financial management. He'd also anticipated Ava's behavior. If she tried to remove me from the family home or cut off my contact with the kids, full custody of Lily and Max would transfer to me, with all necessary financial support. There were also recordings of conversations between Ethan and Ava where she'd coldly talked about sending me away and moving to Florida for a fresh start. I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that Ethan had protected me, and anger at Ava's callousness. 3 days later, I stood in front of the house again, this time with legal documents in hand. Mr. Thompson, a social worker, and a police officer accompanied me. When Ava opened the door and saw us, her face went through a series of emotions: confusion, annoyance, and finally panic. As Mr. Thompson explained the situation and played the recordings, Ava tried to deny everything. But when she learned about the $7 million inheritance and the custody transfer, she was speechless. I confronted her about her neglect of the kids. When was the last time she'd comforted Lily after a nightmare about losing her dad? When did she last cook a meal for them instead of ordering takeout? We picked up Lily and Max from school. When Lily saw me, she whispered, "Are you real?" I knelt down and told her I was real and that I was there to take them home. Max was skeptical at first, but when I explained that their dad had left me the money to take care of them, they started to understand. Our new home, a modest three-bedroom house with a backyard, became a place of healing. The kids slowly started to come back to life. Lily had tea parties with her stuffed animals again, and Max left a soccer ball on the living room floor without fear. 6 months later, Ava showed up at our door with a small gift for Lily's upcoming birthday. She looked different, more humble. I let her in for a few minutes. Lily and Max were polite but guarded. Ava seemed to have changed. She apologized for how she'd treated me, and I could see a genuine sadness in her eyes. As I sat on the back porch that evening, sipping my tea, I thought about how far we'd come. Ethan's love and foresight had saved us all. He'd given me a purpose, and he'd ensured that his children would grow up in a home filled with love and security. For the first time in a long time, I fell asleep without a worry in the world, knowing we were exactly where we belonged.